the work you're doing is really making a huge difference to a lot of people. And it makes a difference both, and you're touching lives both directly and indirectly.
Hey, can I say there's a lot of poor and middle class values that work against that for a lot of people with the, I grew up with if you didn't like essentially like grind and work your ass off, you didn't really earn it.
Exactly.
And I think like, how this showed up in my reality. I remember there was a guy who lived kind of kitty corner from me. He was a guy who was like physically handicapped, and he would ride around in like one of those rascals most of the day. He could walk, but really only for short periods of time. And he would go mow his lawn, and my mom always like would slap me and my brother in the back of the head, like, go mow Richard's lawn. He's not going to do it himself. Well, we did it just, to keep mom happy. But Richard almost always tried to slip us $10, $20 for doing it. And my mom was like, poor mindset, and always refused it and made it really awkward for Richard, because he just received a gift and wanted to give something in return.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think recently I just had somebody reach out to me, and they had grown an agency business for like 10 years, and their husband of 25 years or something along those timelines died of cancer. And so she was essentially on her own, and she went through this like, really intense grieving period of losing her best friend. But in result of it, like the business kind of like just tapered off, and basically like, mostly, I wouldn't say went to zero, but went to like, a very small shell of what it once was. And after like, going through this grieving process, she was ready to restart, but she knew she wanted to do something a little bit different and wasn't really sure where to start. And so we ended up having a consult together. And in that process, she told me like, how much money she had to her name, which was not a lot at that point in time. And I usually do the consults with people like, I don't even know what to price them at anymore. So I'm just like, you send whatever you think it's worth, and that's cool for me. I just do this for fun anyway. And I know for a fact she sent about half of what she had in her bank account. And I know as like somebody receiving, there's a tendency, oh no, send me less, to feel guilty about receiving. I shouldn't do that. This idea that money is a zero-sum game, and because I took from her and she can not get it back. And when you really open yourself up to receiving, I spent a good hour just feeling so grateful that somebody would give such a sizable chunk of what they had to their name in exchange for my help, because I was like, man, like that meant more to me than I've had clients, send $100,000 check, and it was, for transparency's sake, a couple $100, but that couple $100 because I knew what it meant to that person. And so when you open yourself up to that, like it's just as much of a gift to receive as it is, as you say, to breathe in and breathe out. And you don't want to be the person going, no, I'll refuse that $20 because that's bad and that's naughty and we can't take it, And the beautiful thing is when it comes back to you, it's just as fulfilling, because you realize you've made a difference in somebody's life and in some kind of meaningful way.
And I really just want to take a moment to thank you, because the work you're doing is really making a huge difference to a lot of people. And it makes a difference both, and you're touching lives both directly and indirectly, because with the students whose lives you're touching, you're helping them, earn a great income by providing immense value to their customers and clients. Yeah. And they are touching people's lives because the customers and clients they bring on are able to touch more people's lives with the value they provide. And what that does is it creates a bigger pie for everyone. Wow. So thank you.
Hey, and we're happy to have you on and be a vessel of that. I won't keep you, Bob. I know you're a busy man with lots of times, but for those of you guys who have not read this, Bob's got a dozen books and they're all worth reading. I've not gotten through them all, but we've read a couple of the spin-off versions of The Go-Giver, and they're all excellent. And what I love about it is, as you mentioned, is your co-author, John, help turn them into stories. And I find just stories stick better, but there really are timeless principles that when you read them, they'll shift how you wake up in a day. Instead of waking up and doing this, like, how do I get clients to pay me? How do I get this? What do I say to people? It becomes a lot easier when you're putting other people's interests first and figuring out, who are these people? What do they want? How can I help them? How can I give them gifts? How can I serve their needs? And you can do this strategically in a way where you serve their needs, but in a way that brings them a step towards you. So that, you know, it's not charity. You're doing this in a business sense where you're also growing your business. But as you mentioned, it's just a more fun, fulfilling way to do it. It's like it's way more fun and fulfilling than looking for some magic ad or some magic script, is to wake up and go, how can I help somebody else? How can I build a tool or a resource? And ultimately, that's the real fun, is when you start building things that give value to people but are independent of you. Like if you think about Bob's book, like this has been given value to people and will continue to give value to people long after he's no longer with us. And you know, like there's lots of ways you guys can build stuff that contributes to the world that are independent of your time and energy and effort. And that's the real magic to me, is when you figure that out and you can contribute to people's lives, but like done in a way where you're not always, you know, one-to-one giving away your time in the process.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.